Sacred mirror, seeing yourself through the eyes of love. We live in a world today where a lot of people, especially women and also men, are always comparing themselves to others, listening, needing love from other people instead of seeing ourselves through the eyes of love.
Mirror work became crux for me because I was doing the things but not seeing me and getting lost along the way. So when I rediscovered who I was and saw myself again for the first time, when I finally looked in the mirror and said, "I've got you, you're beautiful soul."
At the age of 30, I found myself going through a divorce. And that was the first time that I really did a deep dive into who am I? Because I had been a mom, a nurse, and a wife. And beyond that, I didn't know who I was. And so I started looking in that mirror and seeing, oh, there's something beyond all these roles that I play.
As I've come to more and more understanding myself and seeing myself through different eyes, and each time I see myself as a more expanded version of myself, and those other things, stories start to fall away, then this heart expansion happens more and more, and I walk through life differently.
I feel like I have seen myself many times over, because every time I go deeper in the healing work, I find a new version of me when those old parts of me fall away.
Hello, beautiful souls. It is Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. But before we dive into today's Wisdom Circle, I have a small request from my heart. If our conversations ever resonate with you or support you on your journey, please subscribe to our channel or like this video. It helps us grow Sacred You, welcome more powerful voices into this space, and keep you connected to everything we share. Thank you so much for walking this path with us, and let us begin with today's conversation. Welcome to another wonderful Wisdom Circle. My name's Sophia from Sacred You, and I have the honor today of facilitating this incredible, I'm going to say incredible topic, something obviously that's close to my heart. It's Sacred Mirror, seeing yourself through the eyes of love. Because we live in a world today where a lot of people, especially women and also men, are always comparing themselves to others, listening, needing love from other people instead of seeing ourselves through the eyes of love. I'm going to introduce our wonderful speakers today, and then we're going to start having a great conversation about seeing ourselves through the eyes of love. So thank you. So Suzanne, would you like to start? Because you were first on. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I'd love to know for you, what does Sacred Mirror mean for you?
Okay. I am Suzanne Bloom. I am from Kamloops, BC, Canada, so the West Coast. I am the manifestation coach that you need to know, and I love walking people through that transformation in identity that truly brings them into who they were meant to be, just remembering who they were meant to be and how to walk that walk. The sacred mirror, for me, mirror work became a part, and I say mirror work after the book and so on, but mirror work became crux for me because I was a mama, I was a teacher, I was a wife. I was doing the things, but not seeing me and getting lost along the way. So when I rediscovered who I was and saw myself again for the first time, maybe I was age 45 when I finally looked in the mirror and said, "I've got you, you're beautiful soul." Like that for me was, I bawled, but you rediscover that you're in there. And so for me, the mirror it's a tool. It's something we use every day, but it really was a game changer for me when I found it and used it in the right way.
Thank you, isn't it? Whether it's a real life mirror, a physical mirror, or just the inner mirror. It's connecting. Thank you. And Dawn, what about your beautiful self? Would you like to say hello? And for you, what does a sacred mirror mean for you?
Thanks, Sophia. Hi, I'm Dawn Michelle Jackson. I'm a nurse and grief recovery method specialist. I help women release the weight of unresolved grief and emotional pain so they can reconnect with themselves, their relationship, and what matters most. for me, I am dedicated to helping people realize that they're not alone and rediscovering who they are as individuals. For me, at the age of 30, I found myself going through a divorce. And that was the first time that I really did a deep dive into who am I? Because I had been a mom, a nurse, and a wife. And beyond that, I didn't know who I was. And so I started looking in that mirror and seeing, oh, there's something beyond all these roles that I play. I am more. I have a soul. I have passion. And so it's been really important for me the last 24 years since I was 30 to really find my gifts, share those gifts with the world, and to put myself out there in different ways that I had never felt comfortable doing in the past.
Thank you for sharing that. We're so glad and fortunate that you are putting yourself out there in ways that you've never done. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you. And Candida, what about yourself?
Yes, I'm in Adelaide, South Australia. And Suzanne, my main crux of everything I've always done is to guide, show, help people remember who they truly are. And that's like I worked in a school for many years, so from children right through to adults. And the way I do that is because in the way of that can come physical unwellness, emotional turmoil, all of this stuff, and stuckness in life and all of that. So I have many modalities. I'm a hypnotherapist, a spiritual life coach, a yoga teacher. I do a lot of Reiki master, a lot of hands-on healing therapies, because different people need different things to bring them back. Because once we can take those things away, or at least loosen up the grip of those things, who you are can then emerge. Because I think until then, it's covered up by all of that. And my own experience, I was listening to the other two ladies, my own experience, I don't think it was until I was in my 40s and I was in my second marriage, and that was 34 years ago now, that because that marriage brought up many dramatic challenges, like traumatic, dramatic challenges, and I had to deal with things I never thought I would have had to. So that brings up, it showed me my resilience, and it showed me my strength. Not only that, but it showed my children that, because there was one situation with my ex-husband, not to go into it too much, but my daughter at the time was 16, and she said, "Mum, we have to leave. We can't stay here." She meant leave the country. She was a dramatic teenager, 16. And I said, and I know this didn't actually come from me, even though we're all everything. I said, look, this is not wherever we go, this will be with us, but we have a choice here. We can choose to stay here, be strong, and get through this, or we can choose to flee. And I don't know where those words came from, because I wanted to run away too. And I think that's when I first discovered to see, okay, you can do this. You've got this. But quickly, and we may talk about this later, I think how we see ourselves a lot is other people's perception of us. But I won't talk any more of that. But there's a lot of that, like right now, that I don't want to take up too much time. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much. And yes, absolutely, totally agree. How we see ourselves is what we're assuming other people, their perceptions and everything else. So we're definitely going to be chatting about that. Thank you. And also so glad that you stayed. So very glad that you stayed, Candida.
Yes.
All right, Jo, what about your amazing self? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, everyone. Jo Owen here from the far northern New South Wales, in the land of milk and honey. We have a lot of rain at the moment, but it's beautiful. Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a deep question that I will go into, but let me just tell you who I am and what I do. I'm an emotional and energetic empowerment coach. I work with women and one man. I always say, and one man who's been with me for a long time and is refusing to not let me go. However, I love that, because there are men in the world that need that holding as well, holding space for them to become. But my main modalities, I trained as an NLP and hypnosis practitioner and results coach in business and personal and regression therapy. But I spent the last 4 decades in the healing world and spiritual world and health and wellness. And along the way, I'll weave this in. I feel like I have seen myself many times over, re-seen myself many times, because every time I go deeper in the healing work, I find a new version of me when those old parts of me fall away. So I think it's something that for me personally, it's been ongoing and finding those deeper layers to see who I truly was, because I was covered up by so much trauma, so much wounding, that I didn't want to see it for a long time. So I had glimpses, but doing the work has always been one of my ways of really finding myself and truly seeing who I am and living from that place. And that's the challenge, right? So, deep connection, listening, and intuitively guiding my clients to see the same, because we all are powerful human beings that we have no idea how powerful we are. So, I help them do that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And can I just take a moment to really honor everyone who's here? And thank you, Jo, for sharing that, because it's so very true. We have no idea how powerful we are. And it takes amazing women like Jo and Candida and Dawn and Suzanne to help us shine that light, to help us become aware of how powerful we are. So for anyone who is watching, do click on the links below and reach out to these amazing women. So thank you ever so much. I'd like to start before we go into the conversation, just to center, just have a very short meditation and to connect with that space within, that sacred space within. So I'm just inviting everyone just to close your eyes if you wish. And as like normal, just taking a nice deep breath in all the way, so you're filling up right down to your abdomen, expanding your diaphragm, and then slowly breathing out. Just another nice, slow, deep breath in, right down into the bottom of the belly, and then letting go and allowing ourselves to relax, allowing our shoulders to soften. So much in our world today, we're carrying everything on our shoulders, so just letting it all go and allowing our shoulders to soften, becoming present in this moment, just being. Nowhere else you need to be right now, just in this space, this moment. Just you, bringing your awareness to your heart. You can even put your hand on your heart if you wish. To feel the energy, feeling a warm, gentle light glowing inside your heart. Light that has always been there. A light that sees beyond all our mistakes, beyond our fears, beyond all the stories that we have carried. Connecting with that light of courage, light of wisdom, a light of beauty. Within your heart is a sacred mirror, a mirror that reflects your soul. As we gaze into that mirror, asking yourself, what does love see when it looks at me? What does love see when it looks at me? Just allowing whatever arises to simply be, without judgment, just receiving. What does love see when it looks at me? Slowly becoming aware of the rise and fall of my chest, and the breath that I take. Becoming aware of the sounds surrounding me and the sensations on my skin. And just gently bringing myself back. Seeing ourselves, or what does love see when it looks at me? What do I see when I look at myself through the eyes of love? I'd love to know. And Candida, you are off mute, so I'm going to be picking on you. anyone who's off mute tells me that you would like to share something.
Okay. What are you asking me? What I saw? Yeah.
Yeah. What does love see when it looks at me? What was that for you? So how different is it when we see ourselves through the eyes of love?
Yeah, it was a very unexpected and powerful vision that I got. I actually saw myself, this sounds a bit funny, but as like a peaceful warrior princess, like very powerful, but as in just shooting blue and gold light, the form of me, like big, but big, saw myself really big because I'm actually very small. I saw myself like very big and very powerful and very loving. It was just magnificent, actually, like a peaceful warrior princess, God, I don't know, but I saw myself as that. And then I saw myself being that through me, through my physical me, like through me. And then I saw myself as that in different areas of my life, and particularly those areas that I wish to amplify and improve and all of that. So yeah, it felt very true. It felt very amazing and very true.
Thank you. It's a pretty amazing visualization. What difference does that make for you in your normal day-to-day life? Can you incorporate that into your life?
Yes, I can. Remembering to would be the thing as well.
Yes.
Because currently I'm seeing like things as a bit of a struggle. Even though my life is great and everything, there are things that I want to bring into my life. And it just feels like a little bit of a struggle at the moment. I know that these 2 months of June and July, there's a lot of stuff coming into our planet, and that's shuffling things around a little bit. So I'm putting it down to that. So what I would like is embody that vision more and more so that I don't feel the struggle and don't see it as a struggle. Yeah. So I think that would be like, because once I do that, then I'll completely change my energy, and then that will change everything outside of me as well.
And watch out, world, here comes Candida.
Warrior princess.
The warrior princess will send reminders to Candida to remember. Prompt notes, remember the warrior princess. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for that, Candida. And Suzanne, I'd love to hear from you, or sorry, Joe, just Suzanne. What does love see when it looks at you, when it sees you?
I was really glad you asked that question because I've been working on the mirror work for a couple of years now. And like I said before, it really changed everything for me. But one of the things that I learned, I'm a mother of many children. So three bonus children, 3 of my own. And that was one of my hardest things. And I think motherhood is still a huge area of shame, that we always think that we're not enough, we're not doing good enough. And when I started my mirror work, what I learned to see within myself was what my children truly felt about me, not what I thought they thought. So I learned to remember those moments when they're hugging me, they're looking at me with love in their eyes, and they're telling me what they really appreciate and love. And why today was so beautiful was that I recognize now that, and this is Candida talked about it, if I could bring that into my everyday life, I do recognize now that at some moments, not all, I am in fact able to, I'll catch myself thinking that, oh, Suzanne, you talk too much. And then I'll think, actually, my kids often thank me for explaining things. My kids often thank me for telling them how much I'm proud of them, how I appreciate them. And I remind myself of the truth. The truth is your kids like this about you. The truth is that you are a good mom. The truth. And so that mirroring has become a tool that I'm able to use. And has it ever changed everything? Because when you're thinking horrible things about you, you lean into relationships in a different way, not with the same depth, not with the same welcoming. And when you feel love and you know you are loved and you lean in with love, everything changes. And I gotta say, the last few years, we've got an amazing family. It has just got amazinger. That's a word. And those relationships are, and it comes down to the work. And so thank you for earlier, because it just reminded me that I'm in the midst of it, not yet there, but I do see it taking effect, and I'm grateful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd love to come back to what you're saying about how we think horrible things about ourselves. We live in a world, it's natural now, or it's normal. It's not natural, it's normal. But I'd love to come back and explore that even more, and how that changes from what you're saying when we see ourselves and everyone else through the eyes of love. Thank you so much. Jo, what about you? Tell us about your experience.
Yeah, our critical self is so harsh, isn't it? Sometimes I think that's the thing we're always working with and reframing. So thanks for sharing that, Suzanne. And I love what Candida said. I had a vision of that once too, me being the warrior princess. But for this one, I didn't have a vision. I had a feeling. And I was in there asking that feeling, who is she? And words came: courageous, compassionate, caring, peaceful. Isn't that what we're all striving for? That inner peace. And it's surprised me because I know that's who I am as a person, but I had never really felt it in that way. Embodying that for me is going to be part of my, like you said, remembering to embody that, starting my day with that, because I have a very strong morning routine, but I can bring her into this and continue to really show up, not just for me, but like you said, for everybody else, Suzanne, my family, my children, my grandchildren, and be totally present in that way, which I feel like I do, but I don't know. I've had a couple of very emotional days and I've allowed myself to feel that. And Candida talked about what's happening in the energy and the planets, whatever at the moment. And I could feel that, but I also caught myself saying, why are you so emotional? And then catching myself going, go with it, just go with it, allow it to come. And I think that's really important to recognize that these feelings are coming up for a purpose. There's still more releasing to do. And as much work as you've done, 37 years of it, there's still more. And allowing that to come through and come up for a purpose, because there's always a deeper layer that we're letting go of. So being kind is probably the message I got in that visual, no, it wasn't a vision, but the feelings of looking at myself in the mirror through the eyes of the lens of love. Yeah, kind and compassion.
Yeah, to ourselves especially. Just be gentle. As we all said, we're very good at beating ourselves up. Imagine what would happen if we would just change that and be gentle and kind and compassionate to ourselves. So thank you for sharing that, Jo. It's appreciated. Dawn, would you like to share anything, any of your experience?
Sure. So I didn't really have a visualization either. It was more like what Joanne was describing as just feelings, that I'm a very sensitive individual, which I have in the last few years been very gentle with myself about that, because as a child, that was always looked at as there was something wrong with me. I was too sensitive. I get upset about things that I shouldn't be upset about. And I've come to realize that it's my sensitivity that allows me to connect so deeply with individuals and to share my open heart with them and to feel empathy. But I also have to make sure that I protect that, because I can easily feel overwhelmed if I don't remember that I have to take care of myself in the process. So looking at myself from that lens of love, I'm giving myself a lot of grace for who I am as an individual, that open-hearted, sensitive soul that wants to help others, but also remembering that I need to honor my needs in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so very important that we do honor all our needs in the process, which again is challenging.
Yes.
Remembering that and things like that. It's Candida, remembering that you are a warrior princess, but even warrior princesses have needs as well. And remembering that. So thank you for sharing that. And I'd love to continue. Like, we live in this world that, as we all said, it's so easy to be caught up in the negative. So easy to think about the horrible stuff. But how can we turn that around? We know the mirror practice. We can stand in front of a mirror and look at ourselves deeply and tell ourselves all the powerful things. And it works. But then we go away from the mirror and our mind comes back to all the horrible stuff during the day and stuff. What else can we do? What other tips and techniques do you have that you'd like to share on how you see yourselves and other people through the eyes of love and not worrying about what their perception of us is?
Would you like?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, and I think actually for all of us, is paying attention to how we feel about things, because our feelings and emotions and reactions to things carry information. They're telling us something is fine or something is not fine. So if we're feeling unhappy or not okay or conflicted about something about ourselves or how we deal with something, a relationship or anything, then it's like, just take a moment. Okay, so what is this trying to tell me? Because we're constantly being spoken to. Body talks to us all the time. Our heart speaks to us all the time. But our mind is so busy that most of the time we don't hear it. Unless we decide that we're going to allow time and that we're going to pay attention to how we feel. Because I think that's our greatest GPS are our feelings. As human beings, that's our thing, that we're feeling beings and stuff. And also in relation to other people, if we're not feeling okay around certain people or we're getting irritated, then often we can think that's their fault. That's because they're doing something that I don't like that person, blah, blah, blah. But why am I reacting? What is it within me? Because we're all mirrors for each other as well as for ourselves. And what is it within me? So I think asking the question and being aware of our feelings and not brush it, because we can tend to brush those aside because they can stop us doing what we need to do. So we've got 1,000 things to do and we've got to rush. If we stop to think of our feelings, we're not going to get those things done. And that can be true. But if we make time at some point during the day, okay, I was feeling like this today. What was that trying to tell me? And I think in doing that, we can then listen to the voice of our heart, listen to our inner wisdom, which is trying to get us to where we want to be. So that's what I do. That's what I think would be really helpful thing also to remember amongst our busyness.
And that's the thing, is to remember in all the busyness, whether it's setting alarms or reminders or whatever it is, or alarms and reminders, whatever method works for us, is to remember during the day. Thank you. Dawn, yes.
So one of the things over the past few years that's become important to me is to honor not only the difficult emotions, but then also the joy as well. So I can honor the pain and I can honor the joy both at the same time. Yeah. And so when something's coming up, because there are many things in life right now for all of us and for the world that feel heavy and difficult to navigate, I look at what am I feeling and where's that coming from? Is there a sadness? Is there a fear? And I let myself sit in those. I also allow myself to share with other people. I happen to have a really supportive husband who listens to me. And oftentimes just being able to express how I'm feeling helps me move through it. It's not that I need someone to give me advice or to try and fix it. I just need to speak what's on my heart and what's in my mind. But the other part of this is I choose every day to look at the things that I'm grateful for in my life. So even on the difficult days, even on the messy days where I felt sad, angry, whatever it is, I still end my day with a practice that's 4 things. I think about what I'm grateful for, what I'm proud of, what have I accomplished? And sometimes that can be something simple, right? I was able to take a shower today and I went to the store. Whatever it is, I think so many times we put ourselves down because we expect ourselves to accomplish something huge. And then when we don't, we're beating ourselves up. So I look at those little things. So grateful, proud, and then what brought me joy, because sometimes that's different than what I'm grateful for.
Yes.
And then what I'm looking forward to for tomorrow. So it's already starting my next day off on a positive note, even if I know I'm going to be facing some difficult things. I'm still trying to put some positive energy into the day.
Which is always a wonderful way to start. If you start that way and end that way, day is going to be looking pretty good because it's got a foundation is already there.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that. Suzanne, would you like to share anything?
Sure. When we're talking about what allows us to remember, and remember who we are and that love that we feel inside, everyone's hit the nail absolutely on the head. And there's just so many options. I love the gratitude practice, Dawn, that 4-step practice. That's beautiful. But one of the things that I do before I even get to that is to say, who has the right to speak into me today? Who has the right? Am I actually going to turn on the news? Do I truly want to listen to that neighbor? And I am allowed to set boundaries for myself, and I give myself that power. And I haven't listened to the news in probably 15 years. And that's okay. Everyone has their own beliefs around that. And some people might have their one news app that they trust. I personally trust that if I am supposed to know something, the news comes to me. So today we got on and Sophia told me about the earthquake in the Philippines. I have a friend in the Philippines. I'm now going to reach out. To me, I believe that's how the news was to come to me. I find that's a more loving way to hear about what's happening on the planet, because when it comes to me, then it is because someone I love or care about cares about it and cares about me and knows that the story probably matters. And we're both coaches, Sophia. We know a lot of people in the Philippines and all over the world, and so that matters. But I make that conscious choice all the time, is who and what will speak into me, because what I have built inside of me, my belief in me, my belief in my ability, my family, what I'm going to manifest my life into, is precious. It took work. It's like raising a child. Would I take my child and put him in the middle of the road and go, good luck, you're two, have at her? No, I would say there are some boundaries here. And it's the same thing. And it isn't being naive. It isn't being close-minded. It doesn't mean that I don't find out about research, learn, do the things, but it also allows me to remain who I'm meant to be, which I don't believe is a person who worries or beats himself up or runs after news story to news story, wondering what to worry about next. I refuse to think that's who I'm meant to be. So for me, that question, who gets the right to speak into me today, is important.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'm going to write that one down. It's such a powerful thing. Yes. Thank you so much for that. And Joe.
Yeah, 100% love that. And I want to echo all of you here. I think we're all in the same sphere when it comes to what we allow into our brains and how it's just a proof of the work that we continue to do, right? On the news thing, I find that it's a tricky one because I live with someone that thrives on it, right? And for me, I just leave the room, or I put my headphones on, or I'll go do my yoga. I'll do something else because I'm not here to tell people what they can and can't do and what they choose. But it actually does come back to this piece around what we're feeding our brain, what we're feeding our soul, what we're feeding, the information that we're putting in there. So I have a very strong belief that we can rewire that as well by turning up for ourselves, showing up and doing practices over and over until it's rewired. So practice, but I think the remembering part is easy when you're feeling the results, when you're getting the results, because you just want to go and feed it the right fuel. It's like feeding our body. We've got to feed our mind. So we can over time rewire that old programming if we consistently show up for ourselves and do that. So remembering is easy when you have that vision of who you truly are, when you know who you truly are, and you're looking and you're searching and you're really wanting to find her, him, and continually do that. My early days was mirror work with Louise L. Hay. I think I've mentioned a few times in the circles here, and just continually showing up every day and reading that extract on my kitchen wall out of survival, right? I didn't know it was going to work, just out of pure survival, changed my life. And it was in a very short amount of time. I couldn't believe it. That put food on the table for my 4 children and a roof over their head for many years as a result of that one practice that I continue to show up and do every single day. And it does rewire that old programming, that old thinking. And I love what Dawn says about stopping it for those moments. And that comes naturally now because I know it works and I know that's important. And just being held and allowing yourself to grieve in those moments. You can still function. I still function. I still get a lot done, but I give myself that space to just feel. And I think that's really important because so many women just continue to push through and not acknowledge. And that's what causes dis-ease in the body, eventually ill health. So that's my little piece to that.
Thank you, Jo, and I totally agree with you. When we keep on going and pushing ourselves, yes, we eventually, the body breaks down like anything else. We get the dis-ease instead of just taking that time to breathe with grace and ease. Thank you for that. I'd love to go back to Candida for everyone, and let's talk also about perception, because it's also mirroring how we mirror other people and we mirror them, or they see us in them, we see ourselves in them. Let's talk about perception. Where do people get their perception of us from, if that makes sense? And how can we change people's perceptions if we need to?
Okay, would you like
me
to
you go. Yep.
So I was thinking about that this morning before I got online, and I thought back into my life. Where do people get their perceptions from? So from my experience, I'm Italian, and my family immigrated from Italy when I was 3.5. So in 1955, and we went to Whyalla. Now, Whyalla, for those of you who don't know, in South Australia, was a sort of a shipbuilding BHP thing, country town, right? And in the 50s, my mum came from Naples, a bustling city. So we came from this outbackish sort of place. And the way people saw me, first of all, I was a new Australian because I was Italian. I didn't speak the language. I didn't look like them. And plus, I said before, like, I'm a small person. They all seem to be really big people. So that was not okay to be like that. And there was a lot of racial stuff as well. So I came from being like an adored first grandchild of big Italian family to this nothing in Whyalla. And I was happy up until then. And then all this information I kept getting that was everything about me was not okay. And then I went to Catholic school. And they told us from the very beginning that we were bad before we even got here. And this was a daily infusion into our brain, the original sin thing. And so this was deep programming because we were told on a daily basis that before we're tainted with this thing. And I'm not the only one to experience stuff. There'd be so many people experiencing, especially immigrant families. Others would experience different things. So for me, it was all of these things that told me everything about me was not okay. And the way I came, a soul direction, I think, was how I came through that. Was I decided somehow I learned the language, but I became smart. I think perhaps I always was, but in academic, in excelling at school. So then it went from people ridiculing me for all of the things, for being small, for being Italian, for being everything like that, to then asking me questions that they should have known because they're the Australian people, and because they knew that I knew the answer for tests and things like that. So then I started to get a different view of myself. So seeing myself differently as, okay, I might still not be okay in all these thousands of other ways because I got here and I was not okay when I got here. but at least I'm smart, and I can learn things, and I love to learn. So I devoured every book I could come across. But that programming, and so everybody has different programmings from childhood. The conditioning in the programming becomes our identity. And it's not until we start to question, like I was saying before, if we ask the question, it's not until one of the things I do is I run spiritual and yoga retreats. Been doing it since 2009. And one of the main practices we do in that is to explore our beliefs about ourselves, which includes how do you see yourself, all the stuff we're talking about now. So to change, the perception, I think, comes from other people. It doesn't actually come from us, because we believe the stories that we're told. And we think, oh, okay, that's not good. How am I going to deal with this? And how can I be accepted? So never really felt accepted until people realized that I knew answers to questions they didn't. It's only because I studied. It wasn't because, and they didn't, but I felt I had to try harder. And so just coming into this, like a lot of stuff there, but where I'm at now is like deep soul connection, deep identification with aspect of source, who we all are, and seeing others like that. And again, remembering that throughout my day. But the remembering part, I think, happens when you make the intention that you make the decision that you will remember. So that all of this stuff shapes who we are. And as I've come to more and more understanding myself and seeing myself through different eyes, and each time I see myself as a more expanded version of myself, and those other things, stories, start to fall away, then this heart expansion happens more and more, and I walk through life differently. And we need so much time. We need more than 100 years to sort of get through all this stuff, because with each thing, realization, there is an expansion that occurs, and then within that, there's more expansion. So, I don't know. I hope that's answered.
Thank you.
Question. Yeah.
Yes, it has, and I agree with you that we feel that we need more time, but I also believe we all have the same amount of time, all the time that we need. And the soul is on a journey, so if we don't get it done this time, there's always the next one. Thank you for that. All right, Jo, you've come off mute, so I'd love to know.
Yeah, I was just feeling into what I was coming through for me then, and it's similar but also different. Because I do believe the perception from other people is from our own. Actually, Candida was talking about the 100 years, but we also carry that ancestrally, right? Through our lineage. That's another level which sometimes we don't even get to. But when you are aware of that, I think it's, okay, so maybe it isn't me. But for me personally, I feel like I was showing up. And this is I'm thinking about my children, how they perceived me when I was bringing them up. Because for me as a mother back then, and my eldest is 45 now, and my youngest is 38. So for me, I was in survival. I was my traumatic self living, trying to be a mother. And there's no good or bad in that. It was just, I didn't know any different. And I feel like a lot of it was, some of it I was aware that I wasn't going to parent like my parents parented. That was my reason for being a mother, so I could do it differently and I could break the cycle. Unconsciously, I don't know, because it wasn't a thing that I chose, but I look back and think I definitely went out and did it all differently. I went alternate. I went all natural. I went vegan even back then. And I tried it all, so it was different, but there was still parts of it came through in the parenting side that probably wasn't the best, but it was an automatic way of just not knowing any better. And so they saw me probably as this high-stressed woman trying to put food on the plate and a roof over the head, always working. We had a beautiful life that way. But yeah, I know I was parenting from my trauma before I knew it was trauma, if you know what that means. I didn't realize I was carrying so much, but it was coming out in the way that I was just trying to hold survival, trying to hold everything together. So they saw me as that. Now, as their older selves, they saw me do the work. They saw, and that's transferred into them as well, doing the work and all being very successful in their own businesses. So there was good and bad, right? And sometimes I think they see me as my old self, and I have to go, hang on a minute, no, that's not who I am. Not verbally, but I show them, and they see that now. So I feel like that perceptions, yes, carry through from how I was programmed to be, like Candida said, at those early stages before I did any of the work or any of the deep work. So yeah, and then now, then being different is a new identity, and them seeing that. So I think that's how I wanted to explain it, and because it's so opposite to what I was now. It's day and night.
Thank you, Jo. And I'm really, again, so glad that you've got on that journey, because you are a shining example.
Thank you.
Especially for your children and for the world, for the women out there. So thank you. If you can do it, anyone can go through work and do it. Become an amazing person that everyone here is. Thank you. And Suzanne, what about you? And for you, are we mirroring what other people perceive of us?
That's the thing that I always hate hearing from my coach friends. If we're on a call and I'll say this about this person is just so annoying, and oh, you should look within. What do you mean? That means that it's within you and you don't like it about you. And so it's, oh, and so you're asking, where do people get their perceptions from and how do we change it? So if I'm perceiving something about you, Sophia, the sacred you love lady, that maybe it just strikes me. It could be that it's not necessarily something I don't like about myself. It could be something that I don't see in me. So, for instance, if you're really philanthropic and I'm not yet philanthropic, and I'm like, oh, there's something I need to think about here, right? And so our perceptions come from the fact that other people reflect who we are back to us, or maybe what isn't within us that we would like to see. And so then how do I change those perceptions? It comes down to changing me in my mind. Because as I become that person that Candida talked about, it becoming that person with the answers, who believed in herself, who was able to progress forward in this new country, being an immigrant, as I become that person that I am meant to be within, then the people around me are going to have a different perception of me too. And granted, some of it they might go, oh, that woman is really grateful for everything in her life. Huh, that's something I don't have in mind. Maybe I should think about that. And maybe it's not at the level where it affects, like, I've got some family. Oh, sweet Judy, we love our family, but don't we all have that family member? I've got a family member. He's just really interesting. There's a lot of drugs and alcohol in his life and a lot of dysfunction. Love him to bits, but do I think that when he looks at me, he sees what he's missing in his life? Not at all. He probably wonders what's wrong with me. It's like, why is she like that? And so we are, as you talk about, the soul comes back for lessons upon lessons. And sometimes we're at that time when we're ready to see a lesson that we should learn in it being reflected back to us from someone else. And sometimes we're not at that soul level yet. And that's all good. But for me, the biggest way to change that perception is honestly to change what's in me.
Thank you for that. Totally agree on that too. That what other people see, what we see in other people, that they see in us, all comes what we believe in ourselves. Thank you. Dawn, would you like to add anything? You're not off mute, but you can if you wish to.
I would agree with a lot of what Suzanne said. I feel that people's perception of us is based largely on themselves, like their life experiences, what they've been through, their trauma, the losses they've incurred, generational things, beliefs that they gained while they were growing up. Because the interesting thing is, two people can have an absolutely different perception of someone in the exact same moment. They can see a situation going on, and one can perceive it one way and the other one can perceive it completely different. So if it's somebody that has really unhealed aspects of themselves, they're going to look at this situation and maybe think, oh, that person is angry, or they're just not a very nice person. They're being cruel, they're being disrespectful. But from somebody that has healed a lot of things in their life, which I know all of us here have gone through a lot of healing, we can see with the eyes of love,
Yes.
oh, that person must be hurting. They're not a mean individual. They're just hurting right now and they don't know how to navigate life. So that's why I truly believe that how people perceive us has a lot to do with how they perceive themselves, how they perceive the life that they've lived, and those parts of themselves that are or aren't healed.
Thank you. And it's very true. The parts that there's so much that we do need to heal, and everyone does. We are very quick on judging. When I say that, that's a generalization. A lot of us are very quick on judging. We forget about all the parts that need to be healed, and we don't know what other people's journeys are, how far they are in their journey. So thank you for that. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We are already wrapping up. So I do have one last question, one last discussion point. If it's okay, it's a little bit personal, but I'd love to know two things, really. If you could see yourself through the eyes of unconditional love right now, really just for one moment, what can you finally stop believing about yourself? What is ready to be let go? And then going on from that, can we share that with the world in helping other people, anyone who is listening? How can we just let things go, truly, so we don't keep holding on to it? And Candida, you're still off mute.
Oh, okay. I just leave myself off. Like I don't do. Okay, that's an interesting question. Can you say it again?
So seeing yourself through the eyes of unconditional right now, just taking a moment, just to unconditional love. What can you let go of? What can you find believing about yourself?
I think I would say to myself, stop trying. Stop trying so hard. Because, and then this goes back to childhood stuff, as it does with all of us. The struggle to be accepted, the struggle to excel so that you'll be seen, the struggle. And then I've been a single parent since my daughter was 2 and my son was 7, and now they're 52 and 47. All of this, it had to happen. I had to keep trying. I had to keep going, as Joanna said as well. And understanding I don't have to do that anymore. And I'm not doing it in those areas, but I'm always trying to, and it's not a bad thing, always trying to do better. But I think in there lies that struggle. And I think I'd like to tell myself, just drop that. I've got a retreat coming up in Bali, and I'm trying to do this differently and say, if the people come, they come. If they don't, it's fine. I still do what I need to do about that, but drop the struggle, drop the trying. And even though I think that I'm doing that, I don't think I'm doing that enough. So I would say that because that sets up this inner stuff, which I teach not to do, like the fight or flight stuff. And it may not be at a height, but it's there within that struggle thing. And so I think I would say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And if we have time, I'd love to come back to that. Thank you so very much. Joanne, what about you?
You know what? Through this conversation, something has just really landed. And this is the beauty, isn't it? This is the beauty, because I'm like, what do I want to let go of? And I feel like what's come through right now is that whole perception piece. Like how people see me. Because I have done such a lot of work. But I just am me, and I want to be me. And I don't need to perform or anything. I just want to just show up as and let go of what they think that I should be. So there's a little piece that may be still deep within me that I need to work at. And I love that. I love that. Thank you, ladies. That's a gift today. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dawn or Suzanne, is there anything that you would like to share that you could give up, Dawn?
I would say that thought that comes sometimes that I'm not good enough.
Yes.
I think we all probably suffer from that at times. I'm not good enough. Who am I to do this? Right. And it's so easy to hear that in our lives from others, especially when people question us, well, why didn't you do this? Why did you do it this way? We can interpret that as I'm not good enough. I didn't do this good enough. And I want to let go of that because it stops me from doing things. It makes me second guess. Am I really feeling okay about this? And it keeps me from moving forward when I'm not perfectly ready. And I think so many times we're never going to be perfectly ready. We just need to move forward.
Yes.
And so that's something that I want to continue working on, that I am good enough, right? We all came here with special gifts to share with the world. And your gift is probably not my gift and vice versa. But that doesn't mean I'm not good enough.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. And yes, you definitely are much more than good enough, Dawn.
Thank you, Sophia.
And Suzanne, what about you? If you would like to share, what are you ready to let go of, looking through the eyes of love?
I'm just feeling so blessed listening to everyone. Candida giving up on the try and the hustle. I hear you. Been there, right? Joanne, be yourself. Yes, I hear you. Been there. Dawn, I hear you. Be like, oh my gosh, that worthy, that deserving, that self-love, that yes. And for me right now, what came through is what I even started with was I very often apologize for talking. And I know I'm done because I catch myself and I go, no, no, this is coming because spirit wants to speak through you. This is something for you to say. I try not to go on. I try not to ramble, but there's the apologizing for talking. It just needs to disappear now. Yeah, that's my thing at the moment.
Thank you.
Everyone needs to speak, right? Like Sophia.
Everyone needs to speak. And I want to honor you for saying that, Susan. We all are worthy to share our voice. Every single person. And we're allowing other people to share their voice, but also allowing ourselves to share our voice. So thank you. Thank you ever so much for a wonderful conversation. And again, for anyone out there who is listening, watching the live or the replay, click on the links, reach out to these amazing women. And while you're there, check out Sacred You. We have some fantastic things on offer, our archetype circles and many more wisdom circles and so much more that's coming. So thank you for that. And from what I get, like it all comes down to even when we're trying to let go of other people's perceptions, we're trying to let go of that struggle, the trying, the I'm not worthiness, and the fact that I'm even speaking. It just comes down to loving ourselves, to going within, seeing, having that sacred voice. Thank you, Joe. Allowing that sacred voice to come out and experiencing that sacred mirror within us. So wherever you are, for our beautiful women today, as we close, I'd like to just give you a blessing that may you remember that we are all, you or I am worthy of love, not because of what I do, but because of who I am deep within. And I believe that when I truly love myself, really unconditionally, the struggle goes, the unworthiness goes. I don't worry about what other people perceive of me, think of me, because all that matters is what I think of myself. So thank you. It has been a blessing. Suzanne, Candida, Joe, Dawn, thank you ever so much for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you again for our next Wisdom Circle, whenever that may be, very soon. Thank you.